Welcome back to Soulful Tales. If you're here, chances are you believe that stories can still heal, that they can make us feel seen, even when the world doesn't. This one is for those of us who've loved quietly, lost silently, and lived with memories louder than words. Before we begin, if this story moves you, we'd be so grateful if you could like this episode, leave a comment, or hit subscribe. It helps us share these quiet stories with hearts just like yours. Now, get comfortable. Close your eyes if you can, and let's visit the house where time once stood still. This is the clock that never ticked again. David hadn't stepped into his grandparents' house in over 16 years. The front gate creaked with a familiar resistance, as though time itself had been holding its breath behind it. Ivy crawled higher than he remembered, reaching the window panes like long-forgotten letters that never arrived. The key he pulled from his coat pocket felt too clean for a place that carried so much dust. He paused. The door in front of him, once a warm brown, was now sun-bleached and chipped at the edges. It groaned softly as he pushed it open, like a tired sigh. The scent hit him first. Old wood, dried flowers, and the faint ghost of lavender soap. It was the scent of Sunday afternoons, of tea served in delicate porcelain, of silence so soft it made your own heartbeat feel intrusive. His grandfather had passed away 6 months ago. The house was left to David, along with a short letter written in an unsteady hand. The clock never ticked again after she left, neither did I. David didn't know what it meant then, but he intended to find out now. It stood exactly where he remembered, in the narrow hallway between the parlor and the dining room. A tall grandfather clock, towering and still. Its mahogany frame had darkened over time, as if it too had gone into mourning. He ran his fingers down its side. The carvings were intricate, curling vines and a small bird nested at the top. When he was a child, he used to imagine the bird would sing if he ever wound the clock, but he never dared to. He opened the glass face. The hands were stuck at 2:17. He tried to recall what happened at 2:17. No memory came. Inside the clock, everything seemed functional. The pendulum waited obediently. The chains hung loose, ready. It just hadn't been wound. Why? David sat cross-legged in front of it like a child before a campfire. The silence around it was different, not empty, contained, like this clock was holding something in. That night, he dreamed of ticking, not loud but deliberate, like footsteps echoing down an empty corridor. The third drawer in the writing desk had always been locked. As a child, David had tried dozens of times to pry it open with paper clips and hairpins, but it never budged. Now, with the house to himself, he tried the same key that had opened the front door. It clicked softly. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all addressed in his grandmother's handwriting. None of them opened, all dated after her death. They were to him, to David. His breath caught. He picked one up. The paper was yellowed, but the ink still crisp. My dearest David, if you are reading this, then time has done what love could not. It has taken me away. But before it took all of me, I wrote. I wrote so that the silence wouldn't be too loud. He couldn't read more. Not yet. He placed the letter back as if it might break. There was also a small notebook filled with tidy, angular handwriting, his grandfather's journal. David opened to the first page. I have not wound the clock since the day she died. Not because I forgot, but because it ticked once, loudly, and it broke me. David sat with the journal on his lap until the sun left the window. The armchair near the window was covered in dust and a wool shawl. It had always been hers, his grandmother's chair. Every evening, she would sit there with a book in hand and music playing softly in the background. She rarely turned the pages. It wasn't about the story. It was about holding something still while the world kept moving. He sat in it now. The cushions sighed under his weight. From this seat, the clock was in view. David imagined her watching it not tick. And he wondered if that, in some strange way, comforted her. There was a tea set on the side table. The cup nearest the chair still held dried remnants of chamomile leaves. He didn't know why that made him cry, but it did. Out back, the garden had overgrown. Wild roses tangled with the hedges, and the lavender bushes had tripled in size. This was her place, too. She would hum while pruning, sometimes singing lullabies in French, though David never knew where she learned them. He found a small bench, half swallowed by ivy. Beneath it, a tin box. Inside, photographs of her, of his grandfather, of a young boy holding a wooden bird. He remembered the bird. His grandfather had carved it for him the summer David turned 5. Said it would teach him the value of silence. He never understood then. But sitting in that garden, birdsong overhead and lavender scent clinging to the air, he almost did. Each room had its own kind of silence. The kitchen held a busy silence, full of memory and motion. The hallway, a waiting silence. The bedroom, that was the hardest. That silence was hollow, final. He lay on the bed, arms behind his head, staring at the ceiling fan that never moved. He thought about the clock again, about why it mattered that it never ticked again. His grandfather had lived 6 years after her, in this house, alone, with that silence. But was he really alone? David read more of the journal that night. She asked me not to rewind time. She said time was their secret, that the moments they loved most were the ones that didn't need clocks. David sat in front of the grandfather clock again, letter in one hand, key in the other. He finally wound it. The ticking began, soft at first, then stronger. It filled the hallway. It filled the house. And in that ticking, David didn't hear time passing. He heard her laugh. He heard his grandfather's hum. He heard Sunday mornings and quiet tea and birds in gardens. He heard love, disguised as silence. He let it tick for a full minute. Then gently he stopped it and smiled. Thank you for listening. If this story touched something quiet inside you, we'd be honored if you'd leave a comment, like the episode, and share it with someone who still believes in the quiet kind of love. Until next time, this is Soulful Tales, where every whisper matters.